I know the system works like this, and I know it's the Russians' term, but I just can't get it around my mind that the Russians who invaded Ukraine, who are mocking and flouting the rule of law, are in charge of the United Nations Security Council. They really are. It's their turn, and nothing's going to get done this month, except that they're going to argue for a more multipolar world while they're there. Okay, this is the official United Nations Security Council report. Expected council action on 24 October, the day the UN Charter entered into force 80 years ago. So it was 80 years ago this month, and now 80 years later from the time that the UN, which was created to prevent the kind of thing that's happening right now, it was created for that reason. The Russians are chairing the council. The Security Council is expected to hold an open debate on the United Nations organization, looking into the future. The Secretary General Antonio Guterres is expected to brief via video conference. This meeting is Russia's signature event during its October presidency. That's right. So Russia is the president of the Security Council for this month. It's a rotating thing. It has circulated a concept note to all members states suggesting that the open debate will explore issues such as the implementation of the UN Charter. The Russians are talking about implementation of the. I'm like, there could hardly be greater hypocrisy anywhere in politics. Efforts to promote dialogue and unity, especially in the Security Council, and long-term vision for the UN in context of the UN 80 initiative. Okay. It's just unbelievable. Now, remember, Putin didn't actually show up to the UN Security Council meeting because, well, he's wanted by The Hague as a war criminal. Who did? Well, the president of the UN General Assembly spoke, and then the prime minister of Israel and the president of the United States and a Chinese premier, which is like a prime minister, president of Ukraine. And then who spoke for Russia? Minister of Foreign Affairs. And then president of Iran and president of the Republic and king of Jordan and prime minister, and right, you get the idea, right? So isn't that interesting? And Russia's in charge of the Security Council. So nothing will be done for another month. Okay, about 20,000 North Korean workers are, meanwhile, assisting Russia in assembling Shahed drones. So Russia invited another state, as we know, to fight, to violate the UN Charter and fight against Ukraine. And they're the head. It's just, it hurts my head even thinking about this. And then Russia's been involved in 110 kinetic incidents in Europe since 2022, according to a GlobeSec Counter-T report, including arson, sabotage attacks, assault, even assassination attempts. Poland had the most at 20, France had 15, 89 carried out successfully, 21 foiled. The tempo of such operations accelerated after a mass expulsion of Russian intelligence officers with diplomatic cover in 2018, and then Moscow pivoted to using the underworld. And about that time, they started really effectively using social media. But I'm telling you, events like this, just remember the parcel bomb that nearly went off. It got caught. It was back in like 2024. It was another MH17 style atrocity waiting to happen. Investigative journalists tell the Euromaidan Press. As a lead investigator who exposed Russia's parcel bomb network, he revealed how close Europe came to a mass casualties at Leipzig airport. Now, I'm telling you, just like in this video, we're inches away. One mistake could lead to a war that nobody wants, and we have to get our minds around that. But Russia is the cause of 110 of these kinetic events just since 2022. Okay. Meanwhile, France is striking at Russia's shadow fleet. They boarded the oil tanker Borke, the Benin-flagged vessel under U.S. sanctions, or UN sanctions, or EU sanctions, excuse me, suspected of involvement in drone launches over Denmark. So they're currently boarding this vessel, and that's something amazing to watch. 2 hours ago, 2 Shaheds flew through Belarus into Volyn before heading toward, wait for it, Poland. Again, according to monitors, in response to Poland scrambled F-16s. I'll follow up on that tomorrow. Informal EU Council, meanwhile, is taking place in Copenhagen. Somebody corrected me. It's Copenhagen, not Copenhagen. Thank you for that. You're my hero. I appreciate being corrected. I try to read the comments. EU leaders gathered in Denmark to discuss Europe's joint defense and support for Ukraine. And the president of Lithuania was saying, look, guys, what are you doing? We're still paying more for Russian gas and oil than we're actually supporting Ukraine. Think about that. 13% of total gas imports still come from Russia. So he's right. We need to do something about that. I mean, the world needs to get off of that gas and oil. Okay, fuel crisis deepens in occupied Crimea as authorities restrict sales to 20 liters per person. Well, frick, it was only 3 hours ago I put this video out about superpower out of gas, and I quoted this same guy from 2 days ago saying that sales were restricted to 30 liters per person. Now it's restricted to 20 liters per person. It's just incredible how fast this is moving. And my title here was Superpower Out of Gas. I didn't see this. I didn't get it from Euromaidan Press, but they're talking about the naked truth. Russia's energy superpower myth is over. Yep. I didn't take it from them. I think they came out after me. Okay. Meanwhile, Peskov is talking about how using frozen assets to fund Ukraine is pure theft. And the comment here was the country that invaded and stole property from another country is shocked to learn that it can go two ways. Well, Peskov's right. It is theft, but he has not a leg to stand on. I mean, when you're Peskov trying to defend what Russia has done, maybe nobody's going to listen. Meanwhile, President J.D. Vance stated that, and I'm showing this one because somebody's going to ask me about it, stated that the Senate Democrats have shut down the government by demanding hundreds of billions of dollars in health care benefits and for undocumented immigrants. He's kind of right, but you have the majority in the House and the Senate and the presidency. So nobody's going to really believe that it's the Democrats, even though Democrats are holding things up, because in the Senate, even if you have a majority, you have to have a consensus of 60 in order to pass anything. That's just within the Senate rules. And there are just a few Democrats who can hold out. But to say that it's to blame them looks really, the optics of this are just absolutely terrible when you're looking at that. Okay, follow up to the story from yesterday about Hungary. Serious evidence emerges of Hungarian army activity near the border in February 2022. I showed you this yesterday, and I showed you this one yesterday from the Lansing Institute. This one was from Global Espresso, and I said, take it with a huge grain of salt because we can't actually, I'm not sure about the sources. Well, one of you got back to me, so my shout out is to JP, who went and researched it, and he said there are two, and I'm looking over at this other screen where I can read this. There are two other sites referring to the Hungary story. To be honest, both have the same fingerprint. Not exactly Russia, or not exactly for Russia, not exactly against, but of the sources, Global Espresso, the domain and the root, the age, it goes back to March 2022. And so it doesn't look like it's valid. The Lansing site is also young. And so he went and did the investigation for me. So thank you to that. This is what a real leader looks like. His name is Zelensky. He never fails to give us his evening address, no matter where he is. And I'm sure he's a pretty busy guy. All right. That's pretty much all that I have here. The story that I'm trying to say here is that Russia is in charge of the UN Security Council. I mean, how is that not the fox guarding the hen house? That's where we are today. It is October 1st, 2025. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.